Hey everyone, Jessica Morrison, Realtor here with Ferris Property Group based out of Indianapolis, Indiana. We have with us another top agent, part of my referral network, Jesse Zagorsky. Jesse, welcome.
How are you, Jessica? Good to be here.
I'm good. So, Jesse, who are you with? Where are you located? Share
Yeah, so
all of those details.
I'm in San Diego County, which is California. Those of you, I don't know who might not know where San Diego is, but just in case, right? Make sure it's California. I run a team here in San Diego called Live Love San Diego Homes. We are brokered by eXp Realty. I've been uh, I've been doing real estate for 17, almost 18 years now.
So, you've been around the block a few times. What's been your
Yeah.
favorite thing about selling real estate?
My favorite thing about selling real estate would be getting to be a part of clients' lives in the journey as they kind of change from one milestone to another. The actual job itself, I love the flexibility. I really do, especially now that I have kids. I've got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. And so being able to, I mean, you still work a lot, but you have choice as to when you work, when you're doing it, that, can still pick my kids up from school. But being a part of my clients' lives, especially, you have clients who are moving to San Diego, relocating. You have clients that are, they're getting married, their kids are growing up and now they're downsizing. Just being parts of all those milestones, that's what really drives a lot of real estate purchases. That's by far my favorite part.
Amen to that. I think every realtor on some level resonates or agrees with that sentiment. It's such an intimate chapter of people's lives where you get to walk through that with them. And I actually just helped an engaged couple buy their first home and watching them plan their wedding. Like it's a very fun process that I don't think either one of us take lightly to be a part of and then steward that well so that that chapter and new season, or assuming that's a happy one, sometimes we
Right.
get to walk people through, if they're going through divorce or loss of a loved one, we still get to be that caring individual around that. But what got you into real estate?
I woke up one day and I was a realtor. No, I have a degree in economics and I was working in corporate finance. And then I left that and I was doing marketing for MTV in my early 20s. So I'm living in New York City, working in marketing, realized, corporate finance wasn't for me. Now I'm trying out marketing. And I was talking to my mom who my dad had been a broker for 30 years. They used to flip houses in the 70s, but they had run all sorts of other businesses. So my mom finally full-time got into real estate about a couple of years before I did. We're just talking. I'm like, I don't know if I really love doing, marketing and it was fun, but I don't know if that's really what I want to do with my life. She's like, just get your real estate license. And so I literally sat at my desk in New York, did my classes online, came back to San Diego, took the test, and I just woke up and then I was a realtor. And that was how it went.
I
But
love it.
I don't know about you. Like, do you have any background with family who are agents or brokers or anything like that?
I have technically a family member, like a distant cousin, but it wasn't, I don't have anyone in my immediate circle that I would say influenced me towards real estate. I
Okay.
would say my connection is more, my dad does sales for a heating and supply company. And so between that and then my mom having done HR and 401k experience with a concrete company, my dinner table conversations were sales and HR, but I kind of had some understanding of how the construction industry worked, but I wouldn't say that I'm proficient in that language.
Right.
But I went from art school and student loan debt to how can I get rid of that ASAP, and real estate just kind of landed in my lap. So that's my
Interesting.
micro story, but no
Interesting.
one in my immediate circle.
Yeah, but even hearing those conversations at the dinner table with construction, I mean, that's what it was for me. Since my dad has been a broker since the 70s in San Diego, like I just got used to hearing, and they would buy properties and they'd still flip properties off and on, and it's you just get used to hearing that as a kind of a framework. So it made sense. I'm very used to that sort of thing. And then my mom was my business partner, has been actually for 17 years, which I'm incredibly grateful for.
That's wonderful. I think anytime you can work with family, that comes a lot of times with a really cool growing opportunity to see a different side of, in this case, your parents.
Yeah.
But has that come with some challenges of its own?
Not really. It's interesting. I mean, for us, my mom and I are incredibly complementary business partners. She loves the operation side. She likes the day to day. I've always been into the sales and marketing and that part and just like understanding. the psychological side behind how to help people feel comfortable in a transaction, things like that. So we've always blended nicely. She's run the back office for years. I mean, she still does work as an agent. She has some clients, but she's always been more on the back office side. I've always been more on the marketing strategy, sales side.
That's great, especially because as she's going to get older, naturally, as we all do, I think sometimes when we grow a business, there's that what's your exit strategy? And I think a lot of times that agents don't really think about that. So it's nice that she's laid the groundwork and in a
Yeah.
way can hand that off to you. Because I feel like anytime a business owner, and I'm not saying that your mom has lost fire or enthusiasm, but typically when you start to hire someone or have a partner and they're more excited about the business than you, that's a good time that it's time to sell or figure out a solution. So it's nice that she can pass that baton on to you. Has it been a good mentoring opportunity as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's been a good mentoring, but it's funny because she only worked as an agent for a couple years full time prior to me joining, and it's always been really like a partnership. Like I've I was always obsessed with the marketing part, maybe because I had a background in marketing, and she liked marketing, but she was never that excited about that side of it. So I got really deep and would study that part, and digital funnels and online sales, and even the early days of the internet. Because I'm like, it's funny to say that because I'm not that old. I'm 42, but I was doing real estate in the early days of the internet back then. We some of the first online generated leads for real estate, and that part always lit me up. But yeah, I've learned a lot from her just in terms of entrepreneurial skills since her and my dad have run businesses together my whole life. I've definitely learned a ton from them. And my mom's in her 70s. She still runs, on a daily basis. She used to run marathons. Now she runs like half marathons, but she still, I mean, it's, I, I think she probably enjoys it more now than ever because she's kind of scaled away some of the things that she didn't enjoy as much and just likes working with the clients she has. And I mean, she still seems to love it.
That's wonderful. So she's running half marathons at 70 years old.
Oh yeah. She's like mid 70s. I mean, she's still, yeah,
Good for her. That's
yeah.
wonderful. So let's transition a bit. Let's say we have someone in our audience who has never been to San Diego before. Maybe they're relocating for military purposes, or they got a job offer that was just too good to pass up. What would you give advice wise as they start to navigate their housing options in your area?
Absolutely. So the first thing, if they're being transferred from military, is to see, how close to base they want to live or for their job. San Diego has some pretty distinctive traffic patterns that I won't go into detail now, but I would look at what timeline for commute they're comfortable with in terms of minutes and playing with those traffic patterns to see where they want to live relative to their place of employment, right? Whether it be on base or coming to a base or whether it be just a job. Once you figure out that kind of will give you your geographic area, then it's about looking with price and most people who move to San Diego, they want to be close to the water, to the beach. So right, the lifestyle, the closer you get to the water, the more expensive things are. And kind of the more north and south you go, as you go further away from the centers, again, the price starts to drop as you go further away from the central of San Diego. But um, it's really that balancing act of looking at the price range they're looking in and the amount they're willing to commute, and then if they have kids, we'll factor in schools. But it's about the lifestyle. And really what I do with my clients who are relocating in, I spend a few minutes going into what do they do for fun? What do they do outside of work? And given that, like I've got a client now that loves mountain biking, has to be close to trails because where he lives now, he can be out of his house and on mountain biking trails very quickly. So that was one of the key components that we factored in that helped us narrow down to the areas where, okay, we know there's some really good mountain biking trails outside his door here. Kind of putting all those together, that would be where I'd start with. For someone doing research on their own, there's some great YouTube videos that kind of give you an overview of what it's like. It's not all just a beach community. Obviously, we're a big military town too. There's, San Diego's got a little bit of everything for everybody.
So at the time of recording this interview, it's July 2021. Coming out of COVID, we've seen some news articles talking about how there's a mass exodus from California. And I've heard from my agent friends who are in California that that's not true. What's your take on that headline situation?
Yeah, I think there probably is a mass exodus out of California, but there's also just as many people coming in as there are going out. So, I mean, I've had plenty of clients take their equity because our prices have gone up significantly, right? You just said it's July 2021. We've had some ridiculous, just like I'm sure all over the country, but in the last 90 days, 20% appreciation in some pockets. Like 20% in 90 days is a incredible spike where you've had people that are definitely taking their money and running to other parts of the country, to lower costs of living, to other places, but our inventory is still very low. Houses are selling in days with multiple offers. So clearly not everybody's just leaving, or else we would have an over surplus of inventory. People are coming in just as fast as they're leaving. And that's really what I'm seeing.
So I have like three questions that all popped in my
Let's
head at
do
the
all
same time.
three. We'll do all three.
um, Off of that question or the statement about offer activity, what are you doing to help clients succeed in a multiple offer situation? Because I feel like the buyer psychology right now is agents are having to very much act like cheerleaders to keep spirits up.
Yeah. So you said, what am I doing to get offers accepted? Yeah. So really it's every single, I hate to call it a trick, but like every single thing I've ever learned to bond with another human being, I am doing when we find a house that someone likes with the listing agent, because people like to work with agents that they like. So you want to make friends with a listing agent. You obviously need to write as strong offer as possible. So I have some lenders we work with out here that allow you to write an offer still using a loan, but with no finance contingencies, making you a lot more competitive, because you get fully underwritten before you submit the loan. They guarantee it, so you can safely write an offer with no finance contingencies. There is another program where you can actually write a fully cash offer and then turn around and get a loan, but they're going to guarantee you that you can get your loan, so they give you the cash up front. There's some pretty creative programs and ways that we can do this to make you competitive. The last deal that I got into contract, I'm laughing because my wife keeps giving me a hard time. The listing agent, his wife was an author, and I went out and bought the book of his wife. She just released this book, and I legitimately was curious about the topic. I wasn't just like wasting like it was all on natural healing and basically using the mind to heal other things in your body and meditation and mindfulness. I was really curious to hear about it, but I definitely bought it knowing that it was going to help in a competitive situation, right? Like I wanted to make friends with this guy. I'm like, I'm buying your wife's book.
I love the thoughtfulness of that because, again, if you're going to be that detail oriented when it kind of doesn't matter, but it does, how much more detail oriented will you be throughout the transaction? And if you've got 20 agents all trying to say the same thing, oh, work with me, that's a nice personal touch. I like
Yeah.
to, no one's taken me up on it, but I've joked that I would include tacos at closing with an accepted offer or wine and chocolates. I actually had my last closing a couple days ago. I had the partner agent share with my client that I was part of the deciding factor out of the multiple offer situation, which was really cool.
Yeah.
But one of the things that she shared was, having that email, which I think when you get to a certain point in your career and you start to do things out of standard protocol, and then you see other agents not doing it, you can see why you are set apart from others. But, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but she said, like the summary email that I do, providing all of the offer terms was extremely helpful. And I always say, like, the best offer ever in my email headline, just making it fun. I feel like so much of real estate sometimes can be very cut and dry. So anything you can do to not only set yourself apart, but also have fun in the process, I think goes a long way. Would you agree?
100% adding some fun to it. Sorry, my office is right outside train tracks. I always like to joke I'm on the wrong side of the train tracks. Yeah, you got to make it fun, right? You got people like working with people that they know, like, and trust. And so that like part, that's where, I mean, if you're talking to another agent who's very serious, don't keep making jokes if it's going to go, if they're not going to be appreciated. But I think adding a little bit of humor and just lightheartedness is great for a real estate transaction. 100%.
Yeah. So that being said, offer acceptance, you have no problem getting that done. What can a client expect inventory wise to become available? And I know San Diego tends to have crazy prices compared to the rest of the country, but can you kind of break down for those not familiar with your market the different price points and what people can expect to get for the money? And I realize that might be relative to the area.
Yeah, and San Diego County is a really big area. So just in general terms, when you said, okay, I'm good at getting offers accepted, I'm good when I'm working with a client who is, in a way, my partner, who is motivated in this current climate where we have limited inventory. There's not that many choices. And because of it, it's very competitive. You get 5, 6, 10 offers still on properties on a regular basis. The client has to be motivated to get their offer accepted and write a strong offer as well. When you combine those two together, then yeah, we can work through it. So what does it look like in terms of price points? Um, the range, I would say on the low end for a single family house, depending where you are in San Diego County, you're really not going to find much less than 500,000 for a single family house up to, you know, median price point for a single family house is just around over 880 right now. But you're going to find, easily suburban neighborhoods around, a million, a million two. And then we have our luxury housing starting above 2 million and up basically for San Diego. So it really spans in terms of how close you are to the beach, how big a house is it? Um, I don't know if that helps answer for your question because there's so many diverse micro neighborhoods. Condos and townhomes, you can get a condo for 300,000. You can get a condo for 250 for a small one, but let's figure 300,000. And then there's condos by the beach for a million, million five. It just depends on where you're looking.
The funny thing about condos too is they come with these beautiful little things called HOA fees.
Right. So yes. So in San Diego, to give you a range, I don't know what they go in other parts of the country. Actually, San Diego HOAs are going to mainly run about $300 a month. I would say average 275, 300. You can find some a little lower, some much higher. Our downtown, if you want to be in San Diego, high-rise buildings are significantly higher. The HOAs there run at the low end, 500, 600 a month, more like $700, $800 a month for the HOA and a downtown high-rise.
So, on that vein of costs, would you also suggest people be prepared for things like earthquake or flood insurance? Is that a big thing in your market?
Um, No, not flood insurance. There really is there's a few places in San Diego that are part of floodplains, but it's very rare to have flood insurance in San Diego. Earthquake insurance is optional. And I mean, do your own research, do your own due diligence. I've never purchased for my own properties earthquake insurance. And I've never had to, and I had never had wished I'd had. There are certain parts of San Diego that are closer to major fault lines that might make more sense. I'm a native San Diegan, just like for you, what's the big natural disaster that happens in Indianapolis? What would you, is it hur- hurricane,
That
tornado? What do you got?
I would probably say tornadoes would be the closest thing, and to my knowledge now, there's nothing specific to that. It would just be your general homeowner's insurance policy.
But is it normal to think about a tornado coming through Indianapolis or not really?
Um, not, I don't think so. I mean, there's been a couple in my lifetime, but I wouldn't like, it's kind of the South philosophy when people hear a tornado warning. Some people do panic and go to the basement, but other people are like watching for it because
Right.
it's probably not going to be an issue. So
So earthquakes may be very similar to how tornadoes are in Indianapolis. If being born and raised here, I don't worry about earthquakes. I don't think about them. They've happened so infrequently in my lifetime in like a big way that has impacted me. I mean, I'm 42 years old, and it's maybe been a handful of times where I've actually been impacted in some way. And then it's not like the house fell down. It's just like you felt it shaking. It's not something that happens on a regular basis. That's part of your daily life. Do your own research, decide if you want to get an earthquake insurance. It's not something that economically I've looked at that I've ever felt was important to have a separate rider for earthquake insurance.
is there anything else on the subject of natural disasters? In the past few years, there's been mudslides. You guys have dealt with wildfires. Is there anything for people who might be coming into California that you can speak on those subjects about
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we put to the
mudslides.
side?
Yeah, mudslides are going to be really specific to certain neighborhoods where the soil has been, had issues, or houses are built in the hillside and you've had some erosion. That's something that, you know, if they're working with me or any agent they're talking to, ask about the neighborhoods they're looking at. There's certain ones that we can that in general, mudslides are not an issue. More drainage would be just from if you're in an area with less compacted soil and you have on a hillside. In terms of brush fires, that is probably the more realistic thing to be aware of because of our drought we've had for the last few years. There are certain parts, more the eastern parts of San Diego County, that are built along open canyon areas, lots of brush that's not cleared on a regular basis by anything other than the occasional fire that comes through. So there have been some fires. I'd say that is one area where there are literally thousands and thousands of homes that are near these areas that if that's where you're going to live, you can't avoid that necessarily. And it's the every, 10, 20 year that something that large would be. But certain areas, as you get far enough to the more rural eastern part of the county, yeah, you're going to want to make sure that you understand the risk for wildfire and you have a fire break. And there's some very specific safety measures you can do around your property to fire breaks and things like that to protect it.
That makes sense. Is there anything similar to the questions that I've asked that you would suggest people research or become familiar with in getting acquainted with that area to, like, just on the subject of due diligence, is there anything that you would specifically suggest people look into that if they weren't from the area, they should think about?
No, I mean, those are the ones to look at. I think when you're researching online, there's just a danger of it looking worse than it actually is, right? Because as a resident in an area, you know what it's actually like, and you hear people talking about earthquakes from other parts of the area, like what's it like being in California? We really don't think about it that often. Right. But I think you've asked the right questions for from a due diligence standpoint, from a research. We have just like in any other major area, we have crime statistics put out by our county sheriff's department. You can research those and look at crime maps, and they give a. I don't know if every city does this, but we have really detailed in terms of like the type of crime that's there, the incidents, the frequency, and get a pretty good feel for how safe different areas are based on just the crime maps.
Yes, like I tell my clients, safe is a relative word and always do your due diligence. So, because
Absolutely.
we can't say what is a good or bad area, it's
Nope.
up
I'll
to
give you a
you.
link to the site. You check it out.
Yep.
Exactly.
Aw. Well, Jesse, is there anything specifically that you would like to give as far as tips for people who are looking to interview for an agent in the San Diego County area?
Yeah, I would look for an agent that takes the time to listen to what's important to you, right? Make sure that they take a time to understand what your lifestyle is, to make sure they understand what you do for work and for fun, and then to help narrow down if you don't know the areas at all, make sure that they understand the different areas in a pretty wide range of San Diego County because as you move from neighborhood to neighborhood, they each have different feels and characteristics. It's one of the things that selling in this county for, 18 years now, and I've sold homes pretty much covering most of the entire county. I mean, there's 3 million people in our county. It's a very wide area. I live in the northern part, in the north coastal San Diego County, but I've sold houses over pretty much all of it. And if I don't cover an area that someone is coming into, I'm going to refer them to someone that knows that area well, so they can still. The idea is to make sure you find an agent that listens to you and then points you in the right direction for the areas that are going to be the best fit for you.
Sure, that makes sense. I think it's really important when you are interviewing, whether you're buying or selling or an investor and looking for a right referral or agent for that um, type of goal, that you sometimes consider multiple. And I don't want to take away from Jesse, but I think it's always good to see personality wise. Experience isn't always the best thing. I mean, sometimes you can have a kick butt agent who's only been in it for 5 years and
Oh
they
yeah.
run circles around somebody who's been in it for 20, but half the time they're gone to a different part of the country because they're retiring. So it's not, it, I think doing that due diligence and asking those questions, like you pointed out, is very wise.
Yeah, 100%. And if anyone, if by the way, if this thing is like a linear interview and they've watched this far through, if you've watched this far through the interview and you don't feel like you don't connect with me, don't work with me for sure. But I don't know why they're still watching it, right? If they like if they feel like they have a connection, that's the cool thing of a video. Like you feel like you know someone, then great. Find someone also that's tech forward if you're moving from out of the area. I've worked with a lot of relocation buyers, and I love working with relocation buyers because we can leverage technology. So you do a Zoom consultation like this. We can do FaceTime showings before you get there. We can do, Zoom showings. There's all sorts of things you can do to make the process easier. I love working with people from out of the area. So I would say if it's not me, find someone else that loves working with people relocating that people that are proud of the town they live in and they want to help people find the best parts of their town.
Yeah, NAR actually released an article today or fairly recently that said 94% of listings do not have virtual tours. And I, on some level, am not surprised by that. And I'm curious within the 6% of what is considered a virtual tour is the automated photo gallery.
Right. Which is not a
uh,
virtual tour in any way, shape, or form.
no,
Yeah.
no. So, on the subject of people relocating or operating virtually, what percentage would you say of your sales are for clients who never actually walk through the home? Like sometimes in military cases specifically, people don't have the opportunity to physically walk through a property before they move in. So how do you adjust your business model to make sure that that client is confident?
Yeah, it has to do really with, sorry, there goes another train. It has really to do with going slow at whatever pace your client needs to feel comfortable. So I'd say percentage of sales, it's still relatively low. People that never see a house at all. I mean, it's got to be 10% or less. It's gone up during COVID. We have had more. And what's interesting is we've had more sales in higher price points that people have never seen them. Like we just had one person bought a house that was 1,700,000 from the Bay Area, never saw it, sight unseen. And we told them, come on down, come take a look. No, I'm sure it's great. It's good. And maybe relative to the price point in the Bay Area, 1,700,000 felt like a deal to them. I don't know. Typically, it was more of you'd have people, in a 500 to $700,000 price range that we'd have a lot of sight unseen purchases, or not a lot, but the ones that were. It's just about offering whatever you need, sending videos, doing FaceTime, going back, taking measurements. I actually have a really cool app someone just turned me on to that I can create 3D renderings of the entire place now, like a Matterport tour, but just using my phone, going around, and I've been playing with that. It's not incredibly high, it's not perfect, but it's good enough for someone who's not there to kind of get a feel for it. There's just things you can use to kind of make sure someone has feels comfortable enough.
I can speak from personal experience with the value of virtual tours. So we actually just bought a new house, and in trying to prepare for a new baby that's coming in October and run a business and all of the other responsibilities that I have going on, trying to plan design updates for that new house, it's been incredibly helpful as a buyer personally to be able to reference, even if it's a Matterport tour, to be like, well, does the dining room have crown molding or not? Or,
Right.
how does this closet configuration work? And like just being able to reference that. And I'm not relocating, but it's amazing to me just how incredibly helpful it's been to answer those questions to plan and therefore even speed up the process of improving the property before I move in because I can get a feel again for the virtual the layout and the colors and everything else. So I love that you're incorporating that for your clients, Jesse. I'm not surprised.
Oh, thanks. Oh, thanks.
Is there anything else advice wise? Let's shift over. We've talked a lot about the buyer side.
Mhm.
What about on the selling side in your market?
Yeah, from the selling side, given current market conditions, you want to find an agent that's just really expert at handling multiple offers, maximizing sale price. Marketing is important. There's so many agents that have incredible marketing here. So you want to, at a minimum, you want to make sure that you have someone with incredible marketing. But there's so many agents like that. I think it just comes down to, um, even though things sell quickly, if you have an agent on the listing side who understands how to leverage that competition to create a better price and also to make sure that the buyers are going to move forward and stick in a transaction. Those are the two things I'd look for on the sales side. That's really important on the listing side.
How do you define incredible marketing?
It's gotta it's the look and feel of incredible marketing. It's the level of exposure, it's where it goes, but it's more of just how it feels. I mean, you still see in San Diego a number of houses that are not staged, look junky, photos are dark. It just in this day and age, all of the look and feel of the marketing materials, the photos, the pieces, like I have one sitting here on my desk. We for in person, and things are selling so quickly, it's hard to even get this out quick enough with enough lead time. But like we make this 8-page full color brochure with floor plan. And then this is the type of stuff that mostly you see in new construction homes, not as much in resale. I've just, maybe it's my background in marketing, but I've always been really fanatical about making sure we have really, really, impeccable looking marketing.
I see it as you're representing what is likely to be someone's single largest investment, and they deserve better than an iPhone photo.
Yeah.
5 minutes of listing data entry. And anyway, I think you and I both could have a very long soapbox
Yes.
about that, but that's great.
It comes down to psychology. So when you say what's incredible marketing, it's whatever plays on the emotional appeal of the home, right? So buyers make decisions based on emotion. They justify with logic and then they come back to emotion. So you have to hit those emotional hot buttons from a number of different angles. That's what makes a good marketing campaign in houses, cars, whatever you're selling, right? Whatever it could be, watches, a pack of chewing gum. It's all this. It's all the same concepts behind it.
Fantastic. So, Jesse, we have just a few minutes left. What would you say for those agents watching this interview? Any pieces of advice or suggestions at the time of 2021 on how to win in this market?
Yeah, stay consistent. And it sounds like the easiest thing that I hear coaches saying, and always like, "Oh, yeah, easier said than done," but truly it is. I mean, it's anything that you do, there's no right way to run a business in real estate. You could get 10 successful agents or team leaders in a room, and they'd all have a little different spin on it. But the underlying theme you'd see would be consistency. It would be the fact that it was little pieces done over time that built together into the picture you see today. That would be the biggest tip I'd give.
Excellent. So, Jesse, if I or someone watching this video has a referral or a client would like to connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
They could blow my mind by calling me, but more likely they would text me. Right. So it's the same number either way. Right. It's just my cell number. And this is something that my mom taught me years ago is just answer your cell phone. Like if you're an agent, that would be the second tip piece of advice I'd leave. If you just answer your phone, you're still going to do amazing because if someone's actually calling you, it means they're this day and age in 2021, they are highly, highly motivated because everyone else is going to text you, even motivated people. So they can call me or text me at 858 525 2991 858 525 2991. I mean, they can find me on Facebook or you and I, we message on Facebook Messenger a lot, but I still think just send a text, give a call. It's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Sounds great. And Jesse's information will be provided in the comment or description section wherever this video is posted. As you can tell, he really knows his material. So give him a shout if you're in the San Diego County area or thinking about relocating. Jesse, thank you so much for your
Well,
time today.
well, yeah, well, you're an amazing agent too, Jessica. So coming from you, I take that as a huge compliment. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you
Bye,
so
guys.